Hello, I'm Sophie and I'm a 29-year-old woman. This last year has been nothing short of crazy, and I figured that I'd come on here and tell you all about it. Let me begin by telling you about myself. I grew up in a family that loved to cook and bake. Everybody in my family took turns cooking and baking a variety of things, and as I grew older, that stuck with me. While I may not be an exceptional cook, I do love to believe that I have a flair for baking. Of course, like any rational adult, I did not want to base my entire career on baking when I knew that I wasn't the best out there, so I let baking be a hobby that I did from time to time. Whenever I was in the mood to bake, I would bake a lot of goodies and distribute them among my friends, and then it quickly became a tradition for me to bake everyone's birthday cakes on their birthdays. It was never a problem for me, and I actually loved doing it because it felt like I was even closer to my friends with every cake I gave them. Aside from that, I would also sell my baked goodies every other week at the various concession stands that were put up around my university. I'm only telling you all of this because it comes up later on, and also because it was at one of these concession stands that I met my husband, Lucas. Lucas kept coming to my stand to buy my goodies, which he almost always bought everything, and he'd keep me company until everything was sold. We ended up going on a few dates, and before I knew it, we were in love. After we graduated from university, we pursued our own careers and we moved in together. We were doing amazing both in our careers and in our relationships. I also began slowly working on opening a side business for my baked goods. So after a year and a half of dating, we decided to introduce each other to our families. I know, we moved in before we introduced each other to our families. We were both broke university students, and moving in together was the best option. Anyway, my family adored Lucas, and I was super happy about it. Lucas's family, however, well, I'd say that it was a mixed reaction. Lucas has a mother, Ruth, an older sister, Anna, and a niece, Perline. Anna and Perline loved me. We got along really well, and we even hung out a lot of times without Lucas around. As for Ruth, she did not like me at all. She made that abundantly clear when she saw me for the first time, and her words to me were, "You." It was very hurtful at first, especially because every time Lucas and I would go over to meet her or just spend time with her, she would never hesitate to ridicule me and insult me. Lucas would stand up for me, of course, but I would stop him before he could say anything too mean to her because I didn't want them to ruin their relationship over me. But the meanest thing Ruth did to me happened on one of my birthdays, about 3 years into my relationship with Lucas. I had a huge birthday party where I invited all of Lucas's and my family and friends. I was having a blast, and Lucas was trying his hardest to keep me away from Ruth. Unfortunately, she ended up catching up to us anyway. Happy birthday, Sophie. Thanks a lot, Ruth. I hope you got to have some of the cake. Yeah, I mean, it was okay. Not anything I would order on my birthday. Did you buy it from the dollar store? Mom! Oh, calm down, honey. I'm only asking. I made it, actually. That's a shame. I'm sure you'd have made a better cake if you weren't too busy eating the batter. What do you mean? Oh, sweetie, you look like you've put on weight. Surely you noticed that. Okay, that is enough. I mean, aside from the cake, the next disastrous thing is your dress. It's showing off all of your fat. It's disgusting. I almost didn't come over to talk to you because of how embarrassing it feels to stand next to you. That is no way to talk to my wife. You better apologize right this minute. I don't have to apologize for anything. I'm only telling her the truth. She's a grown woman, and she should be able to take criticism. Criticism and bullying are not the same thing. Bullying? I'm not bullying her. You are, and you're making her feel bad. This is no way to treat anyone, especially on their birthday. It's okay, Lucas. Let it go. Yeah, listen to her. She gets it. I mean, she has to know what her guests have been talking about all evening. The guests have been saying this? Yeah, I mean, I brought it to their attention, and now they apparently can't unsee it or untaste it if we're talking about your cake. Oh, wow. Thanks a lot, again. You are a disgusting person, Mom. You need to get out right this second. Get out? Why on earth would I get out? Because you've been disrespectful enough. I will not let you ruin Sophie's day. Get out and do not even think of contacting me until you're sincerely apologized to Sophie. Whatever. I don't know what wool she's got over your eyes, but you need to wake up and see the truth. I was not wrong about what I said. You may be blinded by love, but you can't be blind to reality. Out now! Words cannot even begin to describe how hurt I felt after Ruth insulted the way I looked and the cake that I baked. The only thing that stopped me from having a full-blown breakdown was Lucas having my back. Anna happened to see everything, and she was by my side in an instant. By the time Lucas got back after pushing Ruth to leave our house, I was not in any mood to continue the celebration. He called the night after that, and Lucas and Anna stayed back to make me feel better. Of course, Ruth was not sorry about what she said at all. She stood by it even when Lucas refused to talk to her. She only came around and apologized to me when she found out through her friends that Lucas and I had gotten engaged. She was obviously upset that we never told her, but Lucas reminded her that she had told her that he wouldn't speak to her until she apologized. She gave me a very half-hearted apology, but I wanted the drama to be over, so I let it go and forgave her. Even though I forgave her, I did not forget the way she made me feel. After knowing her for a few years, I knew that Ruth's favorite thing was to humiliate me and make sure that my good day was ruined by her. So Lucas and I made sure to hire security during our wedding, who were given strict instructions to throw Ruth out of the venue the second she tried to slander me. Of course, Ruth was never one to keep shut, and while she never said anything to any of the guests while interacting with them, when it was time for her to give a toast, she made sure to throw in a boatload of insults about my looks, my weight, my personality, my hobby, you name it, she said it. Thankfully, security intervened pretty quickly and threw her out. The wedding resumed, and I was in too good a mood to be affected by it. Over the next few years, though, Ruth's attitude towards me only got worse. She would never miss a chance to humiliate me, and she upgraded from just verbal bullying to actively trying to hurt me, to embarrass me. It got to a point where I just stopped talking to her as much, and I avoided her as much as I could at family gatherings. I would only attend these family gatherings because they were mostly birthdays, and I brought over my tradition of baking cakes for the birthday boy, girl, into my new family as well. Ruth humiliated me the first time I made her a birthday cake, and after that, I never bothered to make her a cake again. That was until she called me up a week before her birthday while I was at work. Hello, Ruth. Hi, are you free right now? Not really. I'm at work right now. I don't care. I need to ask you about something. Oh, okay. What is it? My birthday is coming up this weekend, and I wanted to ask if you and Lucas would be coming to the dinner party that I'm throwing. Of course. We'll be there. Why wouldn't we? I don't know. I mean, you're almost always too busy for me, aren't you? I have never... Oh, save it. You just told me that you were not free because you were working. Okay, well, Lucas and I will be free this weekend, and we'll come over to your place for dinner. That's good. I also need to ask you something else. Yes, what is it? I want you to bake a birthday cake for me. Really? Why all of a sudden? What do you mean? I mean, you've always said no to me baking you a cake on your birthday. The last time I brought you a birthday cake a few years ago, you looked at me with disgust and told me to take it back home because you had a better cake. Because I did have a better cake that year, but this year I want a cake that you've made. I don't think that's such a good idea. Why? I watched you make cakes for everyone in the family, and now I want a cake from you too. I don't want to be mean or anything, but you do tend to be very picky about what you like. Yeah, and for good reason. I've had enough disappointments throughout my life, so I've earned my right to be picky. It's my birthday, and I would expect you to bake me a cake. Do you understand it? Sure, I guess. What flavor do you want? I want a coffee and chocolate flavored cake with coffee frosting. All right then, I'll see you at your party. You better not mess the cake up. I've gone out of my way to ask you to make me a cake, and you better respect that. I'll do my best to make sure that the cake is up to your standards. Good. Now I need to go. Say hi to Lucas for me. Bye. I groaned as soon as she cut the call. I knew that this demand of hers was only going to be another way for her to absolutely humiliate me. Yes, that is how used to her antics I was. I was able to guess what she'd use against me. After work that day, I went home and thought of all the things that I could do to make Ruth's demands easier for me. A huge part of me wanted to purposely bake a bad cake for her. I mean, if she was going to humiliate me anyway, I didn't see why I needed to put in that much of an effort either. But at the same time, I knew that I could easily build a good clientele for my side business by baking a beautiful, good-tasting cake for Ruth. I really was stuck between a rock and a hard place. When I got home, I was greeted with the sight of some very familiar shoes by the front door. I immediately knew who was home: Anna and Pearline. Anna had to move to another state a year ago because she got a better job opportunity there, and I missed the two of them a lot. I walked into the living room and greeted both of them warmly. Oh, hi guys, what are you doing here? Hi darling, Pearline wanted to come to meet you guys really bad. Aunt Sophie, I missed you. Hi sweetie. I missed you too. My gosh, you look beautiful. Oh, stop it. We flew into town yesterday night and we thought that we'd come here as soon as we could. We're glad you did. Dinner's almost ready. Why don't we sit down at the table? Of course. So, how come you two are in town? Well, Sophie has a break right now, and since Mom's birthday is happening this weekend, Pearline really wanted to come and celebrate. Yeah, well, it's been hard on all, since you guys moved so far away. I know, it's been hard on us too. Pearline wants to come here every weekend, and I have to remind her that we don't have that kind of money to do that. Once Lucas and I are a little more financially stable, we'll fly over a little more often, I promise. You better. So what are you getting Mom for her birthday? I don't think I need to get her anything. Yikes. Have you finally cut her off? I always hated how badly she treated you. No, unfortunately, she's still a part of our lives, but she called me up today during work and demanded I make a birthday cake for her. Whoa, are you serious? Yeah, that was my reaction as well. I mean, I know she probably has something up her sleeve to humiliate me, and I really don't want to waste the cake over it. She definitely wants to do something against you. She told me that she's got a lot of her friends coming over because she's going all out for this birthday. Oh, this is going to be horrible. I almost want to mess her cake up on purpose, especially if I'm going to suffer anyway. You know what? I'm tired of watching her treat you this way. Why don't we trick my mother? What do you mean? Well, we could ask Pearline to bake the cake. We'll let her in on what we're doing, of course. I don't want to put Pearline through that kind of humiliation. Oh, trust me, darling, Pearline has been wanting to give her grandma a taste of her own medicine for a long time. We're always discussing how rude my mom is to you. Plus, she's been taking some acting classes recently, and I'm sure that she'd love to put it to use. All right, but I'll ask Pearline myself after dinner, that is. Go right ahead. Dinner went pretty well, but all I could think of was Anna's plan to humiliate Ruth in return. I knew that there would be no harm in asking Pearline to help me, especially since I was her favorite aunt. I just didn't know how I felt about humiliating Ruth on her birthday, but before I could psych myself out of the plan, I reminded myself of what she did to me on my birthday a few years ago. She was the reason that I no longer celebrated my birthday that big anymore. Suddenly, I found myself being enraged the more I thought about all the things Ruth had said and done to me over the years. I guess I was just at my breaking point and I wanted to get even with her, so after dinner, I found Pearline sitting in the living room and approached her about the plan. "So, I heard you've been taking some acting classes." "Yeah, it's a recent hobby I developed. Okay, don't tell Mom, but one of the best things about the classes is that I can now lie a lot more easily." Mom used to always be able to see through me, and now she always second guesses herself. That is actually hilarious. I can't believe that Anna still lets you take those classes. She'll do absolutely anything for me. Well, that's a good thing, but I actually need your help with something. That's why I'm talking about your acting classes to begin with. "Oh, what is it?" "So your grandma asked me to bake her a cake for her birthday." "Grandma Ruth?" "Yes." "You're lying, right?" "Unfortunately not. Why would she suddenly ask you for a cake? She's always talked bad about them, even though they're literally the best cakes I've ever had." "First of all, thank you for the compliment, and I highly doubt my cakes are worthy of that high praise. And secondly, apparently Ruth saw me give everyone cakes for their birthday, and she wants one too now." "That still doesn't seem like Grandma. Something smells fishy." "I know. That's exactly what your mom and I were discussing, so we figured that if you were willing, maybe you could bake the cake, and if something goes wrong, you could put your acting skills to use." "Oh my God, I'm so in. I hate the way Grandma treats you. In fact, I wanted to stay here with you and Uncle Lucas, but Grandma insisted that we stay with her, and my mom can never say no more than 3 times. "You're an angel. How about you come over tomorrow at 4 in the evening and we can bake the cake?" "Oh yeah, this is going to be so much fun." "Thank you for doing this for me, by the way. Please, I love you, and I want to make sure that Grandma gets put in her place. Plus, I get to be in the spotlight, and I love that." I was honestly so grateful that Pearline was on board with my kind of wacky plan, but I was also excited about it. I was not the only one excited about it, though. Lucas and Anna were too. The two of them had been begging me to let them cut Ruth off, but because I grew up in such a tight-knit family, I couldn't fathom that thought. But after years of enduring humiliation from Ruth, I think I could let our relationship with her go, and I wanted to let it go in the biggest, most dramatic and humiliating manner. Over the next week, Pearline came over a lot. She practically would spend the entire day with me after I got off work. I sat at the kitchen island while Pearline baked the cake. Now, while Pearline may be a good actress, she's not the best baker. She still made a decent cake, although you could tell that something was off. The two of us laughed when we tried the cake out, and our excitement for Ruth's party only got bigger. Finally, on the day of Ruth's party, I carefully packed the cake and took it over to her place. I was nervous about what she planned to do, but I also knew that it was nothing good. After a little while of interacting with the guests, which, by the way, there were a lot of people attending Ruth's party, Ruth announced that it was time for her to cut the birthday cake. Before she cut the cake, though, she made a big show of me having baked the cake for her. She cut into the cake and took a bite while everyone was watching. She barely chewed it before spitting the cake out and looking disgusted. Keep in mind that the cake was perfectly fine. It just tasted very homemade. This cake is absolutely disgusting. It's awful. How do you think you're going to be able to open your own business when this is the trash you make? Ugh. Why are you laughing? Do you have no shame for what you've made? Why should I have any shame? Because you gave a customer a bad cake. You will go nowhere with your business if you make things like this. You have a horrible sense of business ethics. I hope everyone is seeing her disgusting behavior. It's people like you who are the reason that good bakers overprice their products. Ruth, first of all, you didn't pay for this cake. You called me up a week ago and demanded that I bake you a cake. Wow, is it a crime for me to ask you to do one small thing for me on my birthday? It is not, but what is criminal is your reaction to the cake. I'm only being honest, it's not a bad thing. Well, it is a bad thing considering I didn't bake the cake. What are you talking about? Yeah, Pearline baked you that cake. She came over to my place to use my things so she could bake the perfect cake for her grandmother. What? You're lying. She's not lying, Grandma. Oh, sweetie, I didn't mean anything I said earlier. The cake is delicious. I have never had anything as amazing. Save it. I know how you feel about it. I only wanted to do one nice thing for you, and this is how you repay me. Mom, I'm going to sit in the car. Sweetie, come back. Sophie, you're going to pay heavily for this. Sophie doesn't have to pay for anything. You tried to humiliate her today only because you thought it would be entertaining. Your plan backfired, and it has nothing to do with her. I will deal with you later, too. For now, I need to talk to Pearline. No, you don't. Pearline needs some time to be alone. I think we'll leave right now. Where are you going? Anna, you and Pearline could stay with us if you'd like. There's no reason for you to leave so soon. All right, then. That settles it. Goodbye, Mom. I hope you're happy that you got what you wanted, to humiliate the person who made your cake. Anna stormed off after that and ran to Pearline, who was sitting in the car. I was just giddy with happiness because our plan worked. Ruth looked as pale as a ghost, and Lucas also chose to intervene and really lay into Ruth for trying to humiliate me in front of everyone. He purposely passed plates around with slices of the cake and asked everyone to try it and see if Ruth was being overdramatic. And of course, everyone thought the cake was fine. It's safe to say that nobody was okay with Ruth's behavior that day. The vibe at the party pretty much dulled after that, so Lucas and I went back home. Pearline and Anna were already inside the house, and we gave them a spare set of keys, and they greeted us with laughs. For the rest of the night, we kept discussing the look of horror on Ruth's face when she realized how badly she messed up. But of course, Ruth wouldn't just let us live in peace after that, as she came over the next day, and she looked like she was close to tears. I tried my best to be nonchalant about her standing at my doorstep. Oh, what are you doing here, Ruth? Can I please speak to Pearline? I don't think that's a good idea. I don't care. Just let me in right this second. Mom, Sophie, what's going on here? Ruth wants to come in and talk to Pearline. Absolutely not. Mom, you've done enough damage. At least leave Pearline alone for a little bit. Why should I leave her alone? I didn't mean to hurt her at all. But you did hurt her. She's been a mess, and we only just managed to cheer her up. I don't want her to get sad again when she sees you. Let me at least clear my name. I wanted to know that the cake was actually delicious. I was just making a scene. No, you weren't just making a scene. You were trying to humiliate Sophie. That was disgusting behavior. Oh, now I get it. What are you talking about? Don't you see? Sophie purposely sabotaged me so everyone would view me as a monster. She passed her duty of making the cake onto Pearline. I didn't pass any duty to Pearline. She came up to me and asked me to take over. How was I supposed to know that you planned to humiliate me? Yeah, Mom, you sound insane. You can't just blame Sophie for everything. Besides, that was getting very tiring to be around. What do you mean? Do you honestly think everyone would have been by your side if Sophie actually did make the cake? You always make it a point to humiliate her, and this time you got to feel what you always make her feel. But I never destroyed her relationship with any of her family members. Isn't that what you wanted to do that day? You wanted to also destroy my business. Don't act like you're some saint. The only reason I still kept in contact with you was out of the pure respect for the role you played in Lucas and Anna's lives. But now, you're gone way too far. You're just too sensitive. It's not my fault. Great. Then it's not my fault for not letting you into my house. Goodbye. The sheer audacity that Ruth had to tell me that I was too sensitive had my blood boiling, if I'm being completely honest. I mean, I guess that was what I got for being too nice to her for so long and putting up with her bullying. The only silver lining was that everyone finally got to see her for the monster she was. Ruth, of course, did not leave me alone for a while. She kept trying to come over after that and talk to Pearline, but all of us were over Ruth's obnoxious behavior. So we took off to a beach resort early one morning and didn't come back home until a day before Anna and Pearline was set to leave. Even though I did say that Ruth got what she deserved, though, I will admit that a part of me did feel bad for lying to her. So I told Anna to confess to Ruth after she and Pearline left, and that was a great idea, especially because by then she'd realized just how royally she'd screwed up by exposing her true colors in front of everyone. And Pearline was happy as a clam at the idea of not having to interact with Ruth, and that did make me feel a little bad for her. I mean, which kid truly didn't like their grandparent enough to be happy about not spending time with them? Anyway, Ruth continued to harass me even more since I wasn't replying in person. She'd taken to social media to expose me. But Anna and Pearline had my back. I don't even know how, but Anna had a surprising amount of evidence against Ruth that showed her bullying and belittling me. That was enough for whatever little friends and family that were on her side to leave Ruth. It had been a good few months since Ruth's birthday by this point, and I was just exhausted from having to deal with Ruth's ugly behavior. I felt like it was all so childish and unnecessary. I had only continued to see Ruth's post and text out of curiosity about what she was saying and doing. But eventually I realized how much it was actually affecting me. So I did the best thing that I could do for myself, and I blocked Ruth everywhere. I don't know what she's up to anymore, and frankly, I couldn't care less about it either. I'm just glad that I no longer have to deal with Ruth. I would say that I'm the happiest person regarding this decision, but I'm not. Lucas is the happiest because he no longer has to, out of obligation, be around his mother and his family, feels like he can spend time with me without having to worry about what his mother's going to say. I never realized how much Ruth had been affecting us in a negative manner until she left. From here on out, though, there's only one thing to do: enjoy ourselves. And of course, we're celebrating by eating a moist, delicious cake that I made. Thanks for listening.